we are going to kick off. I mean, I'm going to unplug for just a second and share with this group that I am traveling for business. So I am on a hotel internet. We all know how that can work against us sometimes. So if I do freeze up or things get slow, just give it a couple seconds. I'll bounce back as soon as I can. So with that, I'm going to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Jamie Zetterstrom. I'm the Vice President of Product at Somos, and I'm also the Executive Secretary here at CFCA. I've been a part of CFCA for a very long time, and there are a lot of times that I get to speak for both organizations. So today I will be moderating the session, and we're going to dive right in on what we're talking about. For those that aren't aware, CFCA has a group of different committees. One of the committees that we do have is called the Professional Development Initiatives Committee. The committee is focused on the development of communities of fraud fighters through education and mentorship. And celebrating this vast diversification within our ecosystem, we bring different levels of knowledge, different genders, different professions, different cultures, but overall passion to what CFCA is bringing forward into our membership. And it strengthens our memberships and it grows everyone. So really appreciate the time today to talk a little bit about the Professional Development Initiative and dive right in. As Somos, we had the ability to sponsor the most recent fall CFCA event that was located in the Somos headquarters in New Jersey. And, through charitable support at that particular event, we were raising money and taking donations and taking items for an organization called CASA, which is the court-appointed special advocates. And these are for children in Middlesex County, New Jersey, specifically. Overall this year, we've raised over $15,000 as CFCA, which is like such a huge thing. And being able to give back, especially in the areas that was amongst 3 events, and we're giving back locally to the charities in that area. So just really proud of the professional development initiative team and everyone at CFCA that's been able to participate in bringing giving back through these charitable organizations. Okay. So, all right, Jamie, I know this is the CFCA event. I know you're with CFCA. Of course, I'm with Somos. I'm going to give you the 4-second Somos download and then dive into our panel. Somos is the global provider of number inventories for all numbers in North America. So we handle the North American numbering plan. We are the toll-free number administrator, and we also handle the reassigned numbers database. In addition to that, we have global number intelligence in over 220 countries worldwide. And we're really focused this year on our fraud mitigation and compliance strategies. Anything you want to know about phone number and phone number intelligence, happy to talk to you about that. In addition to that, as a proud sponsor year over year of the CFCA, that is the background of Somos. So with that, let's dive right in. I have a group of amazing, passionate group of women today that are going to talk to us. I'm obviously each of them are going to tell their story, so I'll introduce them in a second. But just take a deep breath and take in some of these names. I have Shauna Hoffman, who's with the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I have Casey Flanagan, who's with the Northwest Federal Credit Union. I have Stacey Graham, who's with Cinch. I have Sarah Whitewell, who's with CFCA and Tough. I have Shanna Donahue, who's with Vonage, and myself, Jamie, with Somos. So those are our panelists, and from there, we're going to dive right in. So ladies, we're here to talk about kind of women in tech and what might be a little bit different. What are some of the stories that you can each share? So I'm going to start in this order. Shauna, I'd love to start with you. If you could tell us like your story, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, what you're doing from that perspective, and then just give us some background of like what it was like coming up in tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jamie, and thank you to the CFCA for inviting me to join you. So I'm the CEO of the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. As you can imagine, we are all over the globe. We're in 130 plus countries, and we have teams on site working with local law enforcement, working with families who've have missing children, and even more unfortunate, those families who also run into exploitation, sometimes of the same missing children, but even just exploitation of children. So it is an absolute challenge. I barely sleep since I've started this job, because every minute that we aren't keeping people connected is a minute that we're really missing out on saving children. So it is surprising to me, our statistics here in the US, we have a very high percentage of children that we are finding when they go missing. Across the globe, we're at very low percentage rates. We're talking in the, 2, 3, 4%, depending on the country. So we have a lot of work to do across the globe. And with the new technologies, it's amazing to be able to connect them. We have our global missing child alert system. We received some funds from Meta and another donor, and we were able to build out a program that has geolocation, facial recognition of the children. And we are connecting countries across the globe with this program. We have 6 that have been in beta, working really well. We're finding more children and getting the families connected to law enforcement in a much quicker manner. Think about it kind of like the Amber Alert system, but the next gen of that. So we have 11 more countries that want to come on board. So I will tell you, like the 15,000 you've raised here for a nonprofit, that is amazing, because every dollar goes towards, just like with them, goes towards saving children. And that's similar with us. It's just, I'm looking for funding, often. So I've been reaching out to quite a few of the big tech to say, hey, we need help. Because we have an opportunity today that's different than at any other time, where we can connect the globe on very important issues and still keep the privacy and security in place. So that's my job at International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'm also on the board of a company called Armored Quantum. We're working on quantum R&D projects and really taking things to the next level when we're exploring quantum and AI and cryptography together. I got started in technology in 2nd grade because my teacher wouldn't let me go to the computer room. And I was one of the top students. I used to compete with this little boy named Scotty, and Scotty and I were always head and head, like on spelling tests and math and all of that. And he would leave and go to the computer room every day and then kind of come back. He was bragging a bit. And I would ask the teacher every day, can I go to the computer room? Can I go to the computer room? She said no. And she would send me out to play with dolls. She would send me out to do all the things that girls typically would do. So finally, about a month into it, I asked her to go to the library. And I just remember I wasn't even as tall as the desk. And I looked at the library and I said, I would like to find books on computers because I need to understand why I can't understand them. And so I walked home with books. My mother's a huge reader, so she's like, yay, more books. That barely I could see around them. And my stack of books I just laid out, and I realized I could actually understand computers. I still never got to the table, though, with the boys. Every boy in our class was trained. I was not. It wasn't until my freshman year of high school that I was able to take my first computer class. I walked in my cheerleading uniform, sticking to the dang plastic chairs, and all the boys were so kind to help me, thankfully, get up to speed, because they've been doing this now for, by that point, 5, 6 years, many of them. And so for me to catch up was really, really tough. But I'm really thankful today that I had that experience, because now I have what I say is my deep voice in my head that when people say you can't do something, I'm like, challenge accepted. So that would be my thing to state, is always challenge accepted. It started in 2nd grade. Now when people say no, I'm like, oh man, now I got to figure that one out. So hence I got into quantum.
Excellent.
Not a lot of
All
girls
right.
in quantum, jumped right in.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Shauna, for sharing all of that. And the work that you're doing with your organization is fantastic, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate your time being here. And more to come on what our organization, CFCA, and the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, what we're going to do together. So great. Casey, you're next on my list. Casey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're working, and kind of your upcoming in tech?
Hi, thank you for having me. I am very happy to be here. It's been a couple of years since I've been at a CFCA event, so I'm happy to be back. I am currently the fraud mitigation manager at Northwest Federal Credit Union. Prior to that, I was with Wells Fargo, so a much larger institution. So here we do everything from the beginning to end when in regards to technology, fraud cases, digging into the data, investigations, figuring out what's going on. I would not say I started in second grade. um, really, in this role, I probably would say it probably started when I went to Wells Fargo in 2017. That was the first time. I had been in a lot of different roles, a lot of them like law enforcement. I've also have HR. I took some time off to stay home. And one of my colleagues was building a team over at Wells Fargo. What she was trying to set up was kind of like a cyber threat intelligence team, but within the fraud group. Things are a little bit different now over there, but at the time, most CTI teams, they were only focused on how to protect the institution, not what was happening to our customers. So within that role, I remember her coming to me saying, "Hey, can you do this? Do you want to come over?" And I'm like, I know nothing about cyber. Like in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to be sitting at the computer, finding the bad guys behind the scene. Couldn't really explain to you what malware was, anything like that. But she said, guess what? Right now, nobody knows. And if you can take the information, if you can learn and give it to executives in real English, that is what we need. So I will say probably back then is the first time I really said, okay, I can do cyber. But I will add, so prior, probably in early 2000s, when I was an analyst with the Department of Labor IG's office, we did use cell phone data to work a case. We were trying to prove that this longshoreman had a no-show job at the Baltimore port. And we were working with the FBI, and they had all this cell phone data, and we could prove based on where his phone was pinging that he never was showing up at the port to actually do his job. So I will say I did have some technology back then.
Excellent, Casey. I know, coming in that environment, but the work you've been able to do has been fantastic. And you're always the first one to speak up and ask a question. And I think sometimes in our industry, that's hard to come forward. And when I say industry, I mean tech in general, to be able to say, wait, I need you to back up 7 steps and break that down for me. And you're always the first one to say, I need to be able to articulate this to executives. I need you to tell it to me the way that I'm going to be able to proliferate that data out. And I just wanted to compliment you on how exceptionally good you are at doing that and bringing that forward. So you're definitely one of the core women in cyber, and thank you for being here today. All right, Ms. Graham, I'll turn it over now to Stacy Graham, who those that don't know Stacy, she's our acting vice president at the CFCA, and I will have Stacy do the rest of her bio now.
Thanks, Jamie. So first of all, I want to say that I feel like the misfit in this group of really, really amazing people. So I'm glad everybody was able to join us today. Really appreciate it. I think for me, I never actually feel like I'm a woman in tech, right? I work in a technological field, but I don't ever feel like I'm a techie kind of person. My dream in life was to be a basketball coach. So I went to school for that and took a summer job at my local small hometown telephone company to answer phones for the summer, and fell in love with telecom. So it would get to where the guys would take me out on field trips, and I learned how to lay copper and how to do the plant to the house and how to splice fiber. And they taught me how to program the switch so that they could call in when they were out, and I could help with the switch. And just kind of fell in love with telecom, learning it from the ground up. And I feel like that's been the majority of my career, is just kind of seeing a new problem and tackling it and learning it as I go. Got into fraud about 15 years ago now. And it's just one of those jobs that every day is new and exciting, and you never get bored and you never know what's going to come. So definitely not where I would have ever imagined my life going, but love every minute of what I do.
Great. And for those of you that don't get to work with Stacy all the time, one of her, I believe, best features is her attention to detail. And Stacy's kind of known as the KYC girl, right? The know your customer, and gets that information out there because she's so diligent in what she does and in paying to that like attention to detail to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So Stacey, you're absolutely not a misfit amongst this group. You are a core part of that, and everything that you do for the CFCA and for your current employer at Cinch, you're on a pedestal as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for being here. I'm now going to bring it over to Sarah, who will first start and say that she is not a woman in tech, which is crazy because she's been at more trade shows than 90% of the people on this call. I say 90% because there's a few of us that have been at a lot of trade shows this year. But Sarah does a lot of work for a couple different organizations, and I'd love for her to talk about both of those. And Sarah, I'm just privileged to have you on the panel today and facilitate it on behalf of the CFCA. I adore that you're here. So if you could tell everybody a little bit about Sarah. I'm making her blush so bad, so I'm giving her a second. But Sarah, if you could just tell this group who you are, what you've been working on, and how you got into tech.
Sure. Okay, so yes, I'm grinning from ear to ear because I feel very, very privileged to have been asked to sit on this panel. I am amongst women in tech, and no, I don't feel like I am a woman in tech, and I'm the misfit, Stacey, not you. But however, I have always grown up in a male dominated world. So when it comes to being a woman in tech, I feel like I've always been good. I've always been fine. I've always been okay. My story really is I grew up with my dad. So I was around boys' things all the time. I'm a huge fan of cars, and all I ever wanted to do was work in the motor trade and sell cars. That's all I wanted to do in life. At 18, I got that dream. I went for a job and I got it. I couldn't believe it. I was going to work for Porsche and Audi. My absolute dream. And it was a wonderful job. It was around 100% men, 99.99%. I was the one. And I was okay with that. And I was confident because I'd grown up with my dad, because I knew my way around a car. And that was all good. So that was my first love, cars. My second love is actually a German Shepherd. My third love is Richard, my husband. Richard, I met him, wonderful man, and he had 3 children. And silly me, took the whole lot of them on. I don't regret a minute of it. But with Richard came responsibility, 3 little children, and so I needed a part-time job. I applied for a role at a fraud management software vendor that was actually just local to me, and it was a part-time role. It fitted in with life at home. It meant that I could be a stepmom and look after Richard and his 3 kids. One is also disabled, blind, and so I couldn't work full-time. I needed to be at home some of the time. However, I loved it. Absolutely loved being in this role. It was a marketing position, and I went back into night school for 3 years and trained in marketing, which I don't think I would have been able to do actually if I was working full time. So it worked out really well because I was working part time. I could do everything at home as well, and I could do the night school, which was 2 or 3 nights a week for 3 years. And then I was at the fraud management software vendor for 8 years. And along came CFCA, and that's got to be the 4th love of my life. Because I love CFCA, and I know you all, and I won't talk about it too much because you all know me. I love this job. I say to the board of directors, it's the best job I ever had because I just love it. I love the people. I love the topics. I love the events and conferences. I love meeting new people. And at our conferences, the majority of people are men. We're talking about women here. So the CFCA is a really good one, though. There's quite a lot of women that come to CFCA events. I go to other events and there's hardly any. Which is quite sad. But but yeah, so they're the loves of my lives. I'm not a techie person, but I'm in a techie world, I guess.
Sarah, I want to double down on something before we jump to Shannon. I want to double down. You mentioned you go to other conferences and there aren't a lot of women. Can you tell the story that I think you told Stacy and I in reference to the, you don't have to say which organization it was, but I'd love for you to tell that story because I just think it captures, um, I just think it captures the essence of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was at a conference a couple of years back. I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, and there were 6 women in a room of approximately 90 men. And us 6 women actually all stepped outside of the conference room, and there were no women left. And we had a little chat outside and said, "We're the only women. I can't believe it." And it's quite common, really. It is quite common in this world. I have to say, I always try and make sure the women are okay. I feel fine in a male-dominated industry, but there are lots of women that don't. And also, I can quite easily go and talk to people, and there's other women that can't. So I always try and make sure that other women are okay, even if it's not a CFCA conference, and just go and say hello. You get people from all over the world at conferences, and some English isn't even their first language. So I just try and make sure they're all okay. But that was a moment for me when there was 6 women at this event. It didn't feel right for once, although I'm okay in a male-dominated world and industry. It just felt very odd and strange, and us women were all stood outside, and there were no women in the room. It was very peculiar, and it just felt like we needed to do a bit more work to make sure there were some more women.
I absolutely am so thankful you shared that story and completely agree. There's a lot to do. I think when you came back and told that story, Stacy and I both giggled and we're like, yep, welcome. I really appreciate you sharing that story.
What's
Um,
special about Sarah is that she makes everybody feel okay.
yep, absolutely. Hi, Adam.
Hey,
Um, from there, I'm going to jump into to Shannon. Shannon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the organization you're with, and your upcoming in tech? Because it's a different story also.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamie, for inviting me here. Sarah, tough act to follow. I love the community CFCA, and it's fostered in such a beautiful way, in no small part thanks to you. So thank you. It's really dawned on me in hearing everybody's story how the seemingly innocuous small moments of our lives build upon each other to sort of bring us to where we are in our later years. And so for me, I currently oversee what I affectionately call the plumbing of Vonage, which is the CPaaS Global Connectivity and Operations Unit required to send SMS, voice, RCS, and network API transactions globally across the 800 plus operators worldwide. And how I got into tech, I think there was a couple of moments that really stand out for me when I'm hearing everybody's story. First, I'd like to say, Stacey, you toggled a memory for me that my mom is an equipment maintainer for what used to be GTE and then was Verizon and now Frontier and about to be Verizon again. And so you could say maybe telephony is in my blood in a way. So I grew up around a woman who was in a very male dominated industry who was holding her own. And so that set a really strong way marker for me to feel like I could hold my own as well. And then as a young teenager or tween, maybe, I was into competitive gaming. And so I was playing competitive Counter-Strike and building my own PCs to be able to do that at a very early age. I remember being so excited growing up in an age where technology was emerging, not like today. I was so excited for the 28.8K modem that came out, or when my first printer came in and I could figure out how to plug it in, and USBs weren't even a thing yet. So I just feel like there's these seemingly small moments that sort of empower us to get on this journey. And then my first role was at a smaller company called Callfire. I was the 16th hire, first female in an operational role. And I really had the benefit of strong mentors helping me bootstrap what became the carrier operations team
really learning about how to integrate anti-abuse technology at scale for self-service platforms in the telephony space. And so now where I find my heart really is holding on to this industry and finding momentum in it is really in how fraud is perpetrated globally, both in forms of artificially inflated traffic, how bad actors are trying to get access to self-service platforms with low friction signups and login pages. And so really understanding what technology platforms we can use to identify, mitigate, and block nefarious actors. Because let's face it, the people that are perpetrating these types of revenue share models, generating amounts of traffic to get that rev share, they're the ones that are funding trafficking, terrorist organizations. And so I feel like it's a pedestal that I can proudly stand on to say we implement actual technology solutions to prevent bad actors from fueling bad things. And so for that reason, I'm really excited to be here and share my story today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shannon. I was hoping I'm going to go from the bottom of the list back up. So Shannon, you open the door.
Hey,
Go
Jamie,
ahead.
I'm actually going to interrupt you for 1 second. So we do these often at different conferences and different webinars over the years, and you always lead them and moderate them and do a fantastic job, but you never get recognized yourself. So I'd like for you to answer the same questions as everyone else. As a person who, I mean, you work hard, you have amazing attention to detail, but you know, when it comes to mentorship and et cetera, it is in your heart. So I would like for you to tell your story as well before we continue.
Okay, I'll do my best. Thank you, Stacy. So now I feel like the misfit. Yeah, I grew up in tech, and my story is pretty familiar. Got through college, come out. When I came out of college, I live in New Jersey, for those that don't know. And so you either went into pharmaceutical sales or telecom. Those were the things that you had options of. And when I started interviewing out of college, I was immediately brought into the sales support organization and had to grow from the ground up there. I was a computer science major. I loved that, but I also had all of these other interests of things that I wanted to do. And I think from that perspective, I got in that role, grew up pretty quickly in that area, and eventually got brought over by one of my customers. They were a conference calling company, and that was fantastic. I got to run a call center eventually. That was really cool. And one of the things I learned through call center was that you always have to find the best human for the job. And I'm being very deliberate in saying the word human because it didn't matter gender and it didn't matter background. It mattered, you know, when you were facilitating and moderating a call for a Fortune 500 company or a small company, you wanted someone who had the skill to be able to facilitate that. And that could be any human. I didn't realize that my talk track, when people interact with me, I always say, like, well, Jamie as a human when I'm describing myself. And I didn't realize that I'd be having these conversations in the world of what's happening with AI today. So it's just very interesting because I've always honed down on the humanity part of it, find the best human to do that job. But those of you that also know that I'm a little spicy sometimes and speak my mind, and I'm not afraid to speak up. And at the company I was at the time, we had a major rollout of a specific country that was rolling out on our platform. And the fraud person at the time, had a hiccup and decided that they saw a lot of traffic now coming from that country and decided to disable all phone numbers on our network from that country as we're rolling out that country. I wasn't quiet about that. I was less than quiet. It probably wasn't one of my best moments, but I proceeded to come into the office the following Monday morning and was now the head of fraud. So then I inherited that work, and that's kind of my story of how I got in. And what I will say to this group is, I've always had kind of that technical mindset. I do feel like I fit in the world of tech. By nature, I'm a programmer, engineer by default. But I like to communicate, and I think my ultimate goal is to share other people's stories and lift other people up and bring other people forward to find the best human for the role and what's taking place. So I'm always happy to moderate these. I never need to be the center of attention. That's not my goal. I really want to find everyone out there and lift them up and bring them as an individual human. So thank you, Stacy, for positioning the question back to me. It's always fun as the moderator to have that happen. So now we're going to get back in. And we're going to go into, thinking about some of the mentor perspective, thinking about how we kicked off this conference and talked about all the work that the Professional Development Initiative is doing. There's so many of us that have a mentor that changed the course and decided we were the right human to kind of rise up and do some work. So maybe each of you, Shannon, we'll start with you. You opened the door. So talk to me a little bit about your a mentor that either changed the direction or changed what you were doing or gave you the confidence to move forward in the field that you're in right now.
I've been so gifted to have many mentors overseeing and inspiring my career journey along the way. And one I would particularly call attention to is the co-founder of CallFire, which then became Easy Texting, one of the co-founders, TJ Thinnekaran. And I think for me, it's so important to have a leader who sees you. Being seen is such a deeply foundational part of being a human, irrespective of gender or diversity. Being seen deeply for your potential, for the things that you care about, and then being given opportunities to fortify those interests, to learn more about those interests, and being given a platform to then practice in low stakes ways. That's what TJ really provided for me early in my career. And I am so grateful to be able to still interact with him on such a regular basis in the industry.
We are also very lucky because TJ is also a member of CFCA, which makes us happy that TJ is a part of this family too. So thank you for sharing that. How about you, Sarah? Is there a mentor?
Yeah, a few mentors actually. My biggest mentor was my father. Not a woman, I'm afraid, a man. He was my biggest mentor. He had my back. He gave me the confidence to do stuff, and he's helped me and still helps me. Sadly, he's no longer here, but he does still help me. I know him so well. I know exactly what he would say. If I need some advice, I ask him, and I know what he would come back with. However, there are two women. There are two women who have really, I guess it sounds a bit cliche to me, but they have empowered me and made me feel more confident and helped me and persisted with me. And Stacey, that's you, and Jamie, that's you. I've been with CFCA 6 years. And I remember when I started, I was so nervous. And I said to Stacey at one point, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't think I can do it. There's so much. So I can't remember everything. And she just persisted with me and kept on and on and on in a good way. And just, it's fine. Keep going. You're doing okay. You're all right. It's okay. And, life just chucks things at you as well along the journey. You have things happen in life. It's fine. She would say, it's okay. Just get on with it. You're doing fine. Jamie, you've just been wonderful. I don't know how you do everything. I just think you're a superhuman. You are a superhuman. You are always on the go. You just are here, there, everywhere, and you inspire me. I would like to be like you. I never will be able to because I do like to sleep. But yeah, both of you two, you've really helped me over the last 6 years, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so privileged to work with you both. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Sarah. That was really sweet. So, Stacey, now you were just mentioned as a mentor. Follow that up with who your mentor is.
Right, no pressure. So it's very similar to Sarah. I think one place that Sarah and I really bond is our closeness with our dads. So very similar story. My dad's not here anymore, but kind of always lived by those words of, what would my dad do? But he really raised, I grew up on a ranch. So, you get that concept of hard work but his biggest thing that I think he ever taught me was to ride for the brand. And to have that loyalty and that dedication to who you're working for. As a result, very similar to Shannon, I feel like I've been blessed. I don't know that I've ever worked for somebody who I wouldn't consider a mentor. I've been blessed in my life to just work for organizations and for individual people who do nothing but motivate me and support me and, kind of take me to that next level. So I feel like I would be here forever if I was just naming very specific mentors. But, male, female, I think that mentorship role is just that desire to support and uplift and want to bring forth the next generation of people. And I've been every step of my career that there's someone in every direction. So I can't even pick just one.
And that's totally fair. Thank you for sharing all of that. Casey, how about you?
So I would say like the same, basically like Stacy, everyone's saying is like this question really made me start to think and looking back through my whole career, and there are so many, there's so many that you learn good things from and also bad things, like how you don't want to handle things as well. But I would probably have to say it was Iris Duncan who brought me to Wells Fargo. She was the one, I mean, we had been worked together at Department of Labor, so we knew we could work together, but she was the one, like I said before, that said, you don't need to know. He was like, if this was a man going for this job, they know about 50% maybe. Like, just go and do it. You know how to learn, you know how to ask questions, and you can put the pieces together. So I think, and that was when I was trying to get back into the workforce. So I was lacking some confidence as well. And since then, that is how I've approached almost everything. I will say that's probably how I got here today too. Because I'm like, anything I can learn. I understand the general concepts and you can learn it. And she's the one that got me to where I think I am today.
That's amazing. Having someone who believes in you and at the same time believes in you because of your ability to learn, like that's really inspiring in itself. So I think all of us are really thankful that she saw that in you and brought that out so that you could be where you are today. So thank you for sharing that. Miss Shauna, why don't you tell us about your mentor?
Thank you so much. It's so interesting to think through the years how many mentors we have, and it's all about the stages of life that you're in. I have mentors in my personal life. I met with one last night for dinner. I was like, here's what's going on with my kids. So it's all the different types of mentors that come and give you amazing advice. I have friends, I look at them and I'm like, you're the best mom ever. My sister, oh my gosh, best mom ever. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How can I be a better mom? So that's actually probably the theme of my life. How can I be a better human? And then on top of that, how can I actually help other humans? Because we're supposed to be here for each other. And I think about recently, I ran into one of my mentors and I didn't even expect to. So I'm at the Somos event last week. And all of a sudden I look over and Adrienne Valencia Garcia, who is one of my heroes, was like standing 2 feet from me. And she's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here? And she had it was I think her second day at Somos. She has joined your general counsel team, and she was on my general counsel team when I was at IBM working in blockchain. So I had an AI practice at IBM that I led for about a decade. And then I moved into blockchain because, there was a lot for me to learn in that area, and blockchain and AI are beautiful together. So she was my counsel, and I will definitely say she kept me out of a lot of trouble because I am a bit of a boulder down a hill sometimes when I go, okay, we can do this. And then it's so important if you are that boulder, because you know what you want to do. You're going to hyper focus on it. I knew what I wanted to build. COVID had hit. We need to get 3 products out in 3 weeks was my goal. And she came alongside us to make sure that happened. It was unbelievable. We were finding, if you remember, nobody could find gloves and masks and all of that. We found 10 billion pieces of PPE within just a day or two. It was crazy. I think it was max 48 hours. And we could not have done it without her, and her coming in arm with us, and, her going, okay, your ideas aren't crazy. Let's do this. Really made a huge difference. So your mentors, if you have the big ideas, I always call them to my team, bold ideas. What's your bold idea? I want one, at least right now, for what you're doing. And that bold idea, just keep hyper focused on that. Even if others maybe think it's a little crazy, it's amazing to see those, like in my life, Adrienne, coming in going, yes, we can do it. And then how we can actually help the world with each of those goals. So it was an amazing opportunity, and I'm so excited you guys get to work with her. She's lovely.
I'm very excited about that also, personally. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. And Stacy, I'll answer your question from a mentor perspective. I think, definitely what Shauna said, mentors come at all different times and such. And I think the mentor I'd probably lean into the most would be, my first hiring manager when I got out of college, and he was really inspirational. Like, he told me there were no limits, and I got promoted like 3 times. Like, every 6 months I got promoted. And then when I got presented with one of my customers wanting me to come to them, it was, well, that fits you perfectly, that's amazing. And there was never the wow, you're leaving us, or what am I going to do? It was always about making sure that I was in the right role at the right time. And I think that's where my innate in business, like looking out for other humans, come from, is making sure that people have that opportunity, because they're going to shine and they're going to do great things, and they're going to save other humans and do things that are bigger than themselves, when they feel that there is no limit and there is nothing that can hold you back. And bringing forward bold ideas is a great example of a way that you can influence and change. So thank you. All right, last question statement of the day. I'm gonna go completely out of order, so be ready, because I'm gonna jump all over the place. Okay, so ladies, get ready. There's a lot of people that are up and coming in the world today. There's a lot of women that are up and coming in the world today. What piece of advice, or what recommendation, or what would you say to them, right? So sometimes this question is posed as like, if you could go back and talk to your, ex self at this age. I'm saying, if you were to talk to someone in today's ecosystem that's coming up in tech, a woman specifically coming up in tech right now, what would you say to them? And Shauna, I'm going to start with you, because I know you're through and through looking at, from how tech is changing so quickly. What would you say to a young woman coming up in tech today?
Absolutely. There's a lot of noise. And half that noise is posturing. The other half is actually real. And so it's really honing your skill set in to go, what's real, what's not, and actually what's important to you. Because there's a lot of people who tell me things are important to me that really aren't. And if you stay hyper focused on your vision and your mission in life, I mean, you pretty much know yourself. You know what you're good at. There are absolutely things that I should not be doing because I'm not good at them. But if you surround yourself with the people, your team, your people, as Jamie and I love to call it, your people, who are your people? Put together your own little mentorship circle. Not one person is going to be everything to you, nor should they. So I would definitely say, get rid of the noise, and then second, build your people. And that will change throughout time, and it's amazing how people will kind of come in and out also of that, depending on where you're at with different things that you're doing. But if you always treat people with integrity and with love, just give them love. They'll come back into your life even after 20 years of not seeing each other, which I did have. Actually, my friend who lived across the street, when we were 5, we were just besties, and he reached out to me on LinkedIn. He's an AI attorney, and he found me. Isn't that weird? And we're 51 now. So you never know whose life you've affected and who remembers you. And he's back in my world. I sent him a book that I'm writing. So it's amazing to see those connections even going throughout life. And yeah, and just do it. But yeah, the noise, separate that if you can.
Great, thank you. Shannon, I'm going to come to you next. What are those pieces of advice or recommendations that you would give a woman who's up and coming in tech today?
I think there's a lot of research that shows throughout the evolution of human history that women are very much community builders, and that there maybe is a higher proponent, and this is advice for everyone, men and women, that we can learn different aspects around emotional intelligence. And I think the emotional intelligence piece is so important in business, to combine the actual pragmatic technical skills or subject matter domain expertise with properly influencing. And so I would say communication in and of itself is trying to be in service towards a specific goal. And so if you have a really strong opinion on something, sometimes it's hard to hold that in and think about the most strategic moment, the strategic tone, the audience. But you will be so much more effective if you learn certain skills around emotional intelligence and other skills. Like I've been spending the last couple of years purposefully trying to become a better active listener and asking insightful, probing questions instead of blanket saying my opinion to steer conversations in a more effective way. And so I guess my advice would be, if you sense that there's a skill that could be holding you back or that is a weak area for you, put that as your focus. Try to find someone who's an expert in that, someone who's really good at it. Don't be shy about asking someone, can I get a monthly meeting on your calendar? Or once a quarter, I would love to talk to you about this. Because you can then frame the challenges that you're going through and what you're struggling with and try to marry that with skills learned from people, from mentors, from actual material and literature. But I would say don't underestimate your ability as an adult, as a professional, to learn skills that will make you more successful at being influential. I would say that above all else has really served me well in my career.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much. Casey, how about from your perspective?
I find like there's a pattern with everything that we're all saying, because I'm looking at my list of things that I have written down. I have, the first one I was like, be true to yourself. Do not try to change who you are when you walk in that room. As a woman, you have a lot of qualities that are just innate, that you can read the room, the emotional intelligence. A lot of times we can pick up on things differently. So don't try to change who you are. And then talking about like seeking out partnerships and allies. I mean, wherever, like what I have learned, and like starting with Wells Fargo and here today, like one of the first people I seek out is, who is my cyber intelligence person? Like just finding those people and building the team around you, whether it's in your personal life, when when you have family or you need someone to cover for you because you're still at work, things like that. And then I also have like, just take the initiative. And that's what Shannon just said. Like, if there is something that you want to learn more about, no one's going to come to you and say, hey, go learn this. Seek it out, take the initiative, learn what you do, or learn what it is. And then if it's something you're interested in, like, always do the best work you can do, and nobody can mess with you. Like, if you were putting out good product, if you were out there, if you know your job, you know your role, you know what you need to get done, no one can question you because you're doing what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, and Jamie, you brought that up about me because I'm really good about this, asking for help. Don't be afraid to say, I need to get back to you. Like, I don't, because we don't know everything. So it is not a sign of weakness if you don't know something. And I take that from my very first job right out of college. I was a special agent with Health and Human Services, and I sat in that office and I was like, well, I can't ask anybody. I'm supposed to know this. They hired me. And I really didn't have any mentors there that actually stepped up and tried. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. But from that point on, I have asked for help. Like, it's not a sign of weakness. So I think that's the different couple points that I have.
That's fantastic, Casey. And I agree with you. Asking for help is and saying that you don't know is a sign of strength, not weakness. Awesome. Sarah, I'm coming to you now. What advice would you give?
I would echo really what everybody said here. I had written down really people, humans, as you like to call them. People are so important. Take time for people, which is something that I learned from my dad. Just give someone a bit of time, listen to them, and if you give them that time, they'll give you their time too. Build a relationship with them, and not everybody's useful, but you can learn things from people. You might not need that person for something, but you still will learn something from them. So I guess just look at people in a human way, be kind, and like Casey said, be yourself. There have been many occasions where I've had a conversation, just me and my brain, and thought, oh, I need to change, I need to do this, maybe I shouldn't say that, oh, I said that, oh no. And then I've just reasoned with myself and said, I am who I am. And I can't change that. And I have to be confident that I'm not like everyone else. And that's a good thing that not everyone is the same. So just be you.
Completely agree, Sarah. That's why Spicy Jamie is sometimes around, right? Stacey, I'm coming to you last. Bring us home. What foresight, what would you tell women upcoming in tech now?
Yeah, so I'll use another dad-ism. And I know this one wasn't just my dad's because I've heard it 100 times in my life, but if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's so easy to get a job and then just get lost in the routine and what everyone is telling you to do. But don't be afraid to find your voice and share your ideas and build your path. I think what I do today, a whole lot of it, if I hadn't have spoke up about the things that interested me and the ideas of how to improve things and make things better, I wouldn't be in the same place today that I am. So you can build your own path by, just like the other said, right? Prove your hard work, show that you have the effort, show that you have the dedication, ride for the brand, you're loyal, you're there for what you want to be. But you can make your job and your role what you want it to be by just being confident and sharing your ideas and not just getting lost in the mundane.
Excellent advice. And for this audience, just so you know, we originally, when we talked about putting this together, this group of women were very concerned that we wouldn't have enough to talk about for an hour. And so there is 6 minutes remaining in this hour-long session because there's so much insight and so much wisdom and so much empowerment that's taking place within the humans that are represented here. So I wanted to kind of call that out because it's really important for us to do that. I'm going to kind of close out the session. I know we might open for questions. I know there are a few comments in chat, which because of my screen, I haven't been able to look at. But at CFCA and all of us as individuals believe in empowering women to lead at every level. You don't need to be at the top of the food chain in order to be the leader. Be the leader within your group. Be the leader outside of your group. For organizations, I know, Shannon, you did this recently. You saw a situation where you could collaborate with a group of women and start a women investing dinner, and it was a really nice event, and thank you for inviting me and allowing me to attend. But lady, we can all do this. And for the men that are on the call, think about what you can do too for people up and coming, where they're at, regardless of gender. Let's lift people up. Let's bring people all to the table. We are at a war right now from a fraud perspective, right? We are at war with an enemy that's being a bad actor. Let's take all of the good actors, and everyone that's on this call falls into that category, and let's take all of us and let's lift everybody up so we can be better. So I would leave you with the parting notes in the way that I would say, get involved with youth that are coming in. If your corporation has an internship program, get involved. If you can get involved in your local school, get involved. One of my people that I work with all the time, her name is Donna Turner. Her thing will be do something. Just do something. Just bring it up. Again, we believe in empowering women to lead at every level. I appreciate the CFCA for making time for this with the Women in Tech Month. And please, if you're interested in the Personal Development Initiative within CFCA, please get involved. If you're here and you're not a CFCA member, please get involved. There's so much opportunity for all of us to do good. So with that, I think, Sarah, do I turn it back over to you if we're going to do questions or anything? Is that what we do?
Yeah,
All right.
thanks, Jamie. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
We did have someone ask a question. Ruby, I think you were going to ask a question mid-session. So did you still want to ask something? You can write it in the chat if you want to, or you can unmute yourself. All right.
No pressure.
Anyone else? Any questions? Here we go. Here we go. Oh, okay, Ruby, no problem. No worries. Thanks. That's it then. Thanks ever so much. Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to get to see you soon and talk to you all again soon. Jamie, thank you for moderating. And we'll see you on the next No session, the next CFCA No session. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.